Hi, folks. This is Dave Schmidt. It's the evening of May 10th, and as you can see, I've got Michael Lee Hill here with me. I'm here at my home in Sedona. Michael was here over the weekend at the workshop we had in Sedona, and he's staying with me here this week. And so Michael is going to be my guest on the radio program tomorrow night on May 11th, and we're going to have a live program. You can call in with all your questions if you'd like. And what we're going to do, we're going to talk about what is the appropriate story behind this ET race called the Anunnaki. About 8 to 10 years ago, if you did research on the internet, you couldn't find hardly anything at all. And yet there's lots of stuff that's coming out, and the vast majority of the information that is being presented on the internet is presenting the Anunnaki in what we would call a dark light. Well, Michael has a different side of the story of that, and his story is very unique. A couple of reasons why. Because see, he was associated with 5 years personally with a gentleman by the name of A.R. Borden, and for close to 40 years, A.R. Borden was the individual on this planet more than anybody else that personally worked and communicated with the Anunnaki. And also on top of that, Michael himself, you've heard me say this before, is a Nephilim, which is an Anunnaki human hybrid. So he has these first-hand experiences to be able to declare what truly is the story on there and how the experiences he relates to them as well. So Michael, just share with us a few, maybe a minute or two, some of the things that we're going to cover tomorrow night and what you'd like to talk about tomorrow night.
Well, I'm really excited about this, first of all, because I see a lot of researchers just throwing the Anunnaki under the proverbial bus and putting them into a negative light. And I can understand, because there is a faction who has been tasked with reflecting back a negative polarity so we could evolve at a faster rate in consciousness. But that's only half the story. There's another part of this, and that is, I would call them Team Good Cop. And, I think this is why sometimes you'll hear people say that the Anunnaki have inspired us and given us agriculture and architecture and sacred geometry and, things that are enlightening humanity, where if you focus on Team Bad Cop, who's reflecting a negative polarity, then, it looks ugly. But I think the whole part of Team Good Cop is being ignored by a whole lot of researchers, and half truth is no truth at all. So.
Good. Well, tomorrow night, that's what we're going to talk about on the radio program. The whole concept that it's not just one side of the story. There are two various sides of the story and the reason behind that, okay?
Perfect.
Good. We'll look forward to seeing you tomorrow night. All right. Thanks a lot. Okay. Bye-bye.
Peace.
Yeah. I'm in the home of Michael Lee Hill. I told you last week that I would have him on the guest on the radio program. First of all, we just want to make an apology that this is basically a simple, crude video, so we know the lighting is not totally perfect, but thank you for understanding that. But I at least just wanted to give you an opportunity to become acquainted with Michael before the radio program tomorrow night.
You look beautiful, Dave.
Hey, all right. Thanks, dude. Okay, because folks, as you know, I always try and want to get to the source as much as possible. When it comes to money, I say follow the money. When it comes to decision makers, I say let's get right to the root of who is really there. And as you know, that I believe that resources are going to be coming through the Dragon family, and the Dragon family has said that they are descendants of the Anunnaki. Well, if I wanted to get to the root of who is basically in touch with the core rulers of the Anunnaki, I'm sitting here tonight with the gentleman who does that. Because, Michael, you have said yourself, not only have you said it, but it's been on a program that you were on the History Channel where they sent you to Harvard University in Boston to have your blood tested. And it came back pretty abnormal. They basically, if I remember you saying, you're hardly even human. So,
it was interesting because the last day of the production shoot for the History Channel is when that information came. His name is Professor David Sistrom. And the last day, they're like, yeah, you have the blood anomaly as well, and your plane's waiting for you. I was like, wait a minute, this isn't just a TV show anymore. Like, what are you talking about? And he goes, what do you think unknown means? And so that was the beginning of all of this unfolding, because it wasn't long after that the Anunnaki came and met me face to face and said, we want to talk to you about this blood issue that was released on the History Channel. And they told me that I was part of bloodline called the Nephilim. And at that point, that made no sense to me whatsoever. But
this has all been new to you just in the last, 7-8 years, hasn't it?
Yeah. 2008. I had been seeing these UFOs over Lake Erie and came into contact with them, actually. But at that point, I didn't know of my Native American Indian heritage because I was adopted. And I didn't know what an Anunnaki even was, and I didn't know what the Nephilim was. So it was quite a shock when they met me face to faceless, as it turns out. But we can talk about that further.
We can talk about that. In fact, tomorrow night on the radio program is when we'll go into great depth and detail. And folks, you will be able to call in with any questions that you have. If you really truly want to get to know how all of this history unfolds, because what I'm beginning to experience and understand along with Michael is our world's history has been so shifted and manipulated, and they haven't told us the truth. And the true evidence is now starting to come out in the archaeological studies that are coming out. And we're going to be finding not only do the Anunnaki have their traces back to areas of the Middle East and in Egypt, but we're also finding there's history of them right here in the United States. Yes. I'll just say this. I'm in your home state in Ohio, and I'll leave it at that if you want to go into the detail on the location, and we can do that on the radio program. But there'll be new history that's going to start coming out.
Yeah, and it all revolves around who the mound builders are, which predates the Native American Indians here on the North American continent. And what we're finding out, and through many different sources, DNA testing through haplogroup X2A, my own bloodline, it comes in through the Native American Indians. And so a lot is going to be revealed on who the mound builders truly are. And I think it's exciting because there's a big piece of missing history, and it all revolves around what was going on before Christopher Columbus, because what we've been told is not the case at all. So
and you're going to find that Native American history traces right here to this spot of where I am here physically with you, and in those they are finding in the artifacts history that goes back and ties to the Ten Commandments, that ties to the Anunnaki as they were in Egypt, and it is tied through the DNA studies, it is tied through the historical studies. So what we're really seeing is the correlation, and the reason I bring this up, because it all traces back to the bottom line is who's in charge? Who's the one that's going to release all these funds? Who are the people that are really assisting us and helping us to have as ourselves to wake up and move into a new era of new lives for us as humanity here on the planet Earth? So we'll do that tomorrow night.
Perfect.
Great.
Looking forward to it.
Thanks.